Good to go. All right, everyone, we'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Sturgis City Council to order tonight, November 3rd, 2025, 6:30 p.m. Please stand with me, and Jim is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And tonight, Bill, will you offer us a prayer, please?
Let's pray. Father, we are so thankful for the beautiful fall that you've granted us this year, for the changes of colors and the changes of season. And now as we go into this meeting, I just ask that your wisdom prevail in all the decisions that are made. And we pray for the peace and prosperity of this city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Bill. Item 3 is approval of the agenda. Is someone willing to motion approval of the agenda?
I'll make that. Go ahead.
Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Got a first by Alex, a second by Nick to approve the agenda in its form that was published. Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. All right, we got the agenda. Jim, we don't have an extensive list of announcements and praise tonight, but we have some.
We may need to depend on the crowd for that, but I will say congratulations to the Sturgis Scooper football team. Last Thursday, they got a win, 28-21, doing it right at the end of the game. They kept us right on the edge of our seat, beating Watertown, and that means that we go to the game in Yankton on Friday. I'm not sure what time that starts. Is that a regular 7 o'clock, I assume, but I don't know that. But it's Friday in Yankton, and if we win that, we go to the Dome. So just so you know, if you're not from South Dakota, you may not know that that means the championship game. So that's coming up this Friday. We play Yankton. Interesting, on Thursday, the library has the Armchair Travelers will meet at noon. I've never been to that, but that might be something. If you're a reader, especially if you like to travel, you might enjoy the library at noon on Thursday. And if you go and you're supposed to have reservations, tell them that I said reserve it when you get there, but that should be very good. I doubt Chris will give any trouble with that. Also, if you did not know, the Chamber of Commerce is taking a tour to Ireland next April, and I talked to 2 people this week who called me because of my extensive time in Ireland. They wanted to know what to look for and all that other. And of course, I was there for 90 days at a time, so they're going to be there for 10 days, or 8 days, I guess. There are still, as I understand, still room available for anybody that would like to go to Ireland with the Chamber of Commerce. That's in April, and they'll have the details if you're interested. Enough.
Thank you, Jim. Is there any other announcements or praise from members of council? Rick, you've got something?
Yeah, we should mention that Saturday, starting at 10:30 a.m., is the opening ceremony for the Got Your Six event at the community center. That's where they have 50 service organizations for veterans. Come early for coffee and donuts. Got a lot of good pieces there. They offer educational, financial, medical, and recreational benefits through the Veterans Service. So very fitting with Veterans Day coming up.
Yeah, thank you.
That's Saturday.
Say, Rick, one other deal is our recycle center or our waste drop-off, that's closed now?
It is not. We have not shut it down yet, but likely by the end of next week, probably the 14th, the yard waste will be shut down. We're playing it by, we'll see what the weather does, but I know with the cold weather earlier this week, most of the leaves have now come down. So if you need to, hurry up and get your yard work done this weekend and get it dropped off, because we will be pulling those.
Thank you, Rick. Is anyone else? Any they'd like to offer? Bonnie?
I just want to say that driving around lately, one of the things I noticed was the autumn decor downtown looks really, really nice. But the big thing is this month, driving around town, it has been fun to see the residents of this town play with the Halloween theme, and we've just had a tremendous number of decorations in the yard. And I know some people aren't big on Halloween, but it has been fun to watch, and it's caused me to like take some detours, routes that I don't usually take to get from point A to point B, just to see what's showing up in the neighborhoods. But there have been some really fun decorations out. It's I just appreciate the sense of humor my community neighbors are showing, not just in my neighborhood, but my town neighbors as well. It's just sort of rivaling Christmas at this point. But it's been fun to see, and I guess, a lot of houses that I don't know who lives there, so I just want to say openly, thank you for my entertainment this month. It's been fun.
Thank you for pointing that out. Definitely had some people on Junction that were doing a good job with that.
It's almost like dueling banjos.
I love the 7-foot skeleton and the dog that goes with it, and the 2-foot tennis ball, and reposed every couple of days. So, thank you. Anything else from anyone? All right, continuing on. The next item actually on the agenda is our tabled item from last meeting. Item 7.1 is consideration to approve Resolution 2025, resolution declaring certain personal property surplus and appointing appraisers. And we tabled this to give us a little extra time to come up with a list of appraisers. Aaron, you've got 3 people on that.
Yeah, we have 2 from Public Works and 1 councilman, and they're going to be meeting tomorrow morning, as I understand, to initiate that process on getting those assessments.
Very good. Is there any questions about this tabled item? Any concerns with those 3 people? That I think Aaron chose them because of maybe their overall knowledge, but also the specific knowledge of some of the items that we're surplusing.
Correct, and then also they have to own property in Sturgis, so.
Very good. Any discussion on this? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We got a first by Alex, a second by Jim to approve Resolution 2025-35. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no?
Kevin, I'll abstain from that.
Okay, because you're an appraiser? I thought you would have voted nay. Okay, thank you. Thank you for doing that portion of it as well. Item 8 is the mayor's report. Just letting you know, we've got a few positions filled. Our facility maintenance lead is part of it, a lifeguard at the community center, front desk attendant, and some aides at the animal shelter. Is there any questions about any of that? Anything from the public, from the audience? Thank you. Item 9 is the consent agenda. These 3 items will be considered together, and unless someone asks to have an item removed and considered separately. Does anyone wish to have an item removed and considered separately from the consent agenda?
Can I just ask, will we get more information on these in the next agenda?
Well, what are you looking for?
Just what the request is for the change in standards there on that 9.2?
Yeah, that's just setting a public hearing, so there'll be a time to talk about that exclusively.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so you don't want to have it removed at this point?
No.
Okay. Is this someone willing to motion the consent agenda?
I'll move.
I'll second it.
We got a first by Mark, a second by Tony to approve the consent agenda. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Item 10 is approval of claims. Any questions on the claims this month? Or this meeting, not this month, excuse me.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
We got a first by Nick, a second by Terry. To approve the claims. What's your question?
Would you give us some clarification on that, the piece on the business improvement development, that 85,000? I'm not questioning its legitimacy, I just think people need to know more about that.
Okay, I can cover that very easily. So we have a downtown business improvement district. We assess businesses by the footage along the street. And since that's an assessment, the county auditor collects that money and then apportions it to the city. And we send that money back to the bid so that they can make those amazing autumn decorations that you were pointing out earlier.
So it's not an expense, it's just a
We're passing the money through to them.
thank you.
We've got a similar situation, but different in the hotel bid, where they actually send us monies for each hotel room that's rented, and then we pay some bills based on their recommendations on what they should do. So we'll see some claims coming in the future in that direction, but those are two sources of economic development that we have in the community. They're trying to drive the downtown business, and I think they're doing a good job. Thank you. Any other questions? We've got a first and a second on the table. First was by Nick, second by Terry. Any further discussion? The motion for the claims indicate by stating yes.
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 Opposed, no. All right, 11.1 is public hearing, consideration to approve renewal of on-off sale liquor and wine licenses for the year 2026.
Good evening. We are due to renew all of the liquor licenses for this year. They all expire on December 31st. This also includes the the out-of-state wine-based licenses. So I have collected all the funds for all of those. I've double-checked the property taxes. We've gotten all the applications in. We just need approval. Renew them all.
So everybody's in good standing.
Everybody's good. I got a couple I'm waiting for receipts, but they'll have them to me tomorrow for the property taxes. But other than that, everything's good.
Thank you. Any questions about the liquor license and out-of-state wine renewal?
I just was gonna ask Jody, have we had any issues with any of legal issues? Okay.
I had one call about the smoke and the burnout at Iron Horse. A complaint about that, just so that's on the record.
I remember seeing that during the rally. Okay. Thank you, Mark. Is there someone willing to motion this?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
First by Alex and a second by Mark to approve the renewal of on-off sale liquor and wine licenses for the year 2026. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no.
Thank you.
Item 12.1 is consideration to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with the South Dakota Department of Transportation Aeronautics Commission for the airport terminal grant agreement.
Evening, Mayor, members of the council. Up for consideration tonight is the authorization for the mayor to sign the South Dakota Department of Transportation Aeronautics Commission grant. We were awarded a $210,000 grant through the South Dakota Airport Terminal Program. These funds were appropriated by the South Dakota Legislature under Senate Bill 144 to assist communities improving, expanding, and preparing for future terminal capacity needs at public airports. Council authorization is requested to allow the mayor to sign this agreement between the City of Sturgis and the South Dakota Department of Transportation Aeronautics Commission. This action is required for execution of the agreement and to initiate the reimbursement for eligible construction expenses associated with our terminal improvement. We had gotten this letter back in the fall of 2024, and at the time, we didn't know if we were going to move forward with that project or not, and it should have been approved then. We're fine in approving it today, but just kind of fell through the cracks because at the time, we didn't know if we were going to do the project. But we do need to get this completed so that we're eligible to get our reimbursements from the DOT. These funds will exclusively for the construction and reimbursement related to the terminal project. The eligible uses include facility expansion, passenger service enhancements, and public accessibility improvements. The funding source of this is all a grant of $210,000. That's what made our portion of the project so low. So there are no direct impacts on the airport operating budget. The grant does provide for reimbursement of those eligible construction costs. The work must be completed within 5 years. That project is currently ongoing, so we meet that condition. This grant funds cannot be combined with the aeronautic trust funds for the same project, which we are not using. Our aeronautic trust funds are being used for the parallel taxiway, and the project must be listed on the airport capital improvement plan, which it is. So the request is for the council to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the South Dakota Airport Terminal Program grant agreement between the City of Sturgis and the South Dakota Department of Transportation Aeronautics Commission. For you.
Any questions for Rick on that? Bonnie?
So the grant, Rick, is 210,
210,000, correct.
and it says, we don't have a match, but it says ineligible costs the city would pay for.
Right, so when we approved that terminal project, the city agreed to about $7,500 of ineligible costs that will be responsible for. The rest of this is all grant money.
So what kinds of things would be ineligible costs?
Some of the design and project administration, basically the engineering.
Okay, so there's nothing that could pop up and bite us in the budget?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
With that, I would motion to approve the mayor to be able to sign the paperwork for this project.
We got a first by Tony, a second by Jim to approve the signatory on the Transportation Aeronautics Commission Terminal Program Grant Agreement. Any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Item 12.2 is the first reading of our 2026 budget. This budget being presented is a structurally balanced budget. It was not easy. There was continual cuts that needed to be made, some with our partners, some within our own staff. We removed people out of our program to make this happen, which is hard decisions. We were somewhat conservative on some of our revenue projections. Example being, we don't have an 85th motorcycle rally coming our way for 2026. We hope that 86th motorcycle rally is, super strong, but it's not an anniversary year per se. Along with increased costs of trying to carry the water of the city. We have not funded positions in a buildings department and in, help me Aaron, what was the other two that we?
Custodial,
The custodial and the buildings.
and then one in the police department?
one in the police department that was an extra just to help build back, right?
Right. And we have some in our enterprise funds that are vacant right now that we haven't put a full court press on filling it, but the ones that also the GIS position, we had that funded last year, we never filled it, we were gonna fund it, we really wanted to have one this year. We decided to accept some risk with the GIS. We do have the planning director position is open.
Are you on?
Sorry.
Trouble hearing you.
We have the planning director position is open right now. And so we've talked to a few people that have had experience in planning from other municipalities. And a lot of those skill sets as to execute GIS type of task, a lot of those people, whoever gets that position, you would hope would have that position. So, you know, we'll see. If not, we may have to do some outsourcing to be able to do some GIS stuff. So the GIS position, as we pointed out, was the custodian, the building positions, and one position in law enforcement. Those are 4 out of the general fund that we have authorizations for, but we're not recommending appropriations in 2026.
Okay, and a few positives. We are not taking any funds and supplementing our ambulance service. We expect the ambulance service to stand on its own, so that's been a plus that helped us out. Of course, we've still got to get through 2025, but for 2026, the anticipation is, or the expectation is that they carry themselves at no cost to the general fund. And we've got a couple transfers that through our reconciliation that we become more clear. Our vendor permitting wasn't exactly clear because we have special sanitation wrapped up into that. Of course, special sanitation is an enterprise fund, and so we've had to split those apart. And that's been identified in this budget process. Again, this is our first reading. Council has the the ability to pass the reading tonight, offer changes. We still need to maintain the structurally balanced budget. And as we go into our second reading in 2 weeks, there's a little bit more detail that we hope to have some better information on, that being TIFs. We've got some self-funded TIFs that, we're hoping to lock in on. I mean, we've got an awful lot of TIF interest showing on this budget, but we're hoping that we can scrape out a little bit more, so. Going line by line, we had every department come in this chamber and make a presentation to us, and some actually, didn't come with much for ask. Some, rightfully so, they're advocating for their department. They had asked for more than that they had received the year before. In a lot of cases, we actually are increasing the total funding from 2025 to 2026. And in many cases, they're staying pretty close to the same. Aaron, do you want to highlight the 26 versus 25?
Sure. Overall, our total expenditures went up 166,000 from last year, and also our revenues up 166,000 too, to have a structurally balanced budget. Most of that is in personnel cost. Personnel costs went up 108%. If you look at the total budget, it went up 2%, but personnel costs themselves went up 8%. A lot of that is the Condre, as we implement that new wage study. Insurance cost, one thing I've really recognized over the is, the cost of healthcare and how expensive that is. That went up 5% also. So really, a big chunk of it is really in the personnel side of it. Last year, personnel was just under 62% of our total general fund budget. This year, it's just over 65% of our total general fund budget. Some of the things where we went up in, are some obvious stuff. This year, from an attorney perspective, most of the year, most of that was legal services. We were in contract with Eric Davis, and he was, working, many hours during the week, but not necessarily full-time. Now, Eric has come on as a full-time employee, so that's increased the attorney budget. Our information technology, that's up about 238%. A lot of this, and Kevin can probably talk more about it, but our infrastructure and our IT is pretty vulnerable. It's dated. It's not the most resilient system. We have some opportunities with the state of South Dakota. They have what's called Secure South Dakota, where we implement a more secure email system. Sturgis is on the line to be able to implement that, but there may be some requirements from hardware, software to be able to do that. We've had some of our computers as we've transitioned, Windows 10, that's sunlighted or whatever, that basically it's not supported anymore as of middle of October. So we have several computers, and some of those in our police department, in the police cars, as they use that to be able to check on information on personnel and whatnot. So those are things that we need to work on. So we wanted to put some money into the IT budget just to have the opportunity to make some improvements on the IT side of it. So that was probably the one budget that saw the biggest increase. Our insurance went up 17%. Police department is up 14%. Airport is up 55%, but a big chunk of that is this airport project. And so, as Rick talked about, we had $7,500 for the terminal, but we also have the remaining part of that for the taxi runway. So we transferred $170,000 from capital improvements over into the general fund that would be allocated towards the airport budget to be able to pay for that. So that increase is all inside doing that project. And then the community center is up 19%. We have, as the mayor pointed out earlier, we do have some budgets that are going to be much lower than they were last year. One is custodial. Most of that is the one personnel. One area that we're really significantly lower in 2026 versus 2025 is both in sponsorship and the rally department. Worked with Lance Shear, looked at how we did operations here in 2025 and what we had budgeted and what we think we really needed to be able to execute a successful rally next year. And so both those budgets are down they're both about 40% less than they were last year. So we made some savings in that particular area. And then also the cemetery is down to 23%. Rick Bush, as the Director of Public Works, assumes instead of filling that full-time position, that's probably another position that's not filled, we're assuming those responsibilities with the Parks Department inside Public Works. So that's kind of where we're sitting from 25 versus 26. Again, overall, we're up 166,000 from 2025 when it comes down to the general fund.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. I guess I'd like to point out that, the rally department and the sponsorship piece, there was also a corresponding reduction in the revenue side of that. We had quite a few sponsorships end their contracts this year, and we can't predict the future. I mean, we're hoping that we see some of those things coming, but in order to maintain a balanced budget, we had to use facts, or as close as we could to facts.
Well, one of the reports that we'll be providing here in the very near term is that we have done the financials for the rally, and I did share that with the Legal and Finance Committee here a couple meetings ago, and we're just kind of fine-tuning that right now. We've probably got a 98% solution. Bottom line is the rally does make money for the city of Sturgis. Our net gain was, probably just over $1.3 million in 2026 or 2025, and that's looking at what we got for all the revenues that came in, and that's your sponsorships, that's your vendor licenses for your tattoos, for your food, for your temporary vendors, and then on top of that, all the cost. So it definitely does make a lot of revenue for the city of Sturgis. We also looked at from the sales tax piece of it. We looked at 2 months, the August, September time frame, essentially, and we know we're a tourism town regardless of the rally, and so we kind of split that in half, and we kind of looked at that, between the shoulder months also, and so we gave about half of that revenue that was generated for sales tax, allocated, based on the rally. And we know that even without the Sturgis rally, we still have people coming to City of Sturgis, for tourism and whatnot throughout the year. And so so I think we have a pretty good number there that's close to reality when it comes down to identifying, what the revenues generated from sales tax. So again, $1.3 million, a little bit more than that. That's a good news story. If there's a sad piece of this, is that we rely on every penny, to operate the City of Sturgis. And I think our opportunity as we go into the future in the next 5 to 10 years is that we have less reliance on the rally revenue funds, and that those funds would be allocated towards whatever we, with our comprehensive plan, those things that are going to benefit the people of Sturgis, long-term, and things that maybe we wouldn't be able to do, without having that rally. So that would be our opportunity long-term, is to have less reliance on the rally revenue when it comes down to, carrying the water, using Mayor Forrester's terminology. But we did, for 2026, we did reduce our revenue by just a little over $200,000. A lot of that because of the sponsorships. We have 2 ongoing sponsorships in 2026. The rest of them, they end in 2025. We're not in a position right now to renew those sponsorships. From their position, anytime they go into sponsorship, whatever they pay for that, whatever the deliverables are, they see that as confidential information. Our perspective on that is that, if we enter into a contract, it has to be public to meet open record laws. And so we have to find a vehicle long-term to be able to make that work. I know we're working on different options. For 2026, as we have our rally and events committee, our staff recommendation is that, let's take some time to establish whatever that process and procedure and that's going to look like, and take the time to do that, get a lot of community feedback on that, and establish something that's going to work for us, long into the future. But for 2026, we're going to emphasize, maybe not sponsorships, but we're going to emphasize partnerships and relationships. All those sponsors that do not have a sponsorship for 2026, the assumption that we're making is that they still want to participate in the Sturgis Rally, Harley-Davidson being one of them. And all those sponsors, those partners, for maybe a better terminology, is that they need space, and they also need marketing. And how we generate some of our sponsorship revenue is that we lease them space, right? For Harley-Davidson, takes up that front lot in front of the community center. We also give them marketing opportunities. We have billboards that we lease year-long, throughout the year, and then we gain revenue by selling that to our partners to be able to for them to do marketing. We have the banner poles over Main Street. We have the stuff that goes up Junction, along the side stuff. So those are things that we can generate, for 2025. But the fact that we don't have the sponsorships, assuming that the rally is going to be a little bit smaller, we thought it would be, behoove us to may have a little more conservative number when it came down to, what that's going to generate. So I think we reduced it by like 219,000 when it comes down to revenue for the rally in 2026.
Thank you, Aaron.
But we offset that almost, by dime for, how we reduced the rally and the sponsorships.
It's definitely disappointing, and we'll be talking about that more when, the rally profit and loss comes out, but that our general fund budget gobbles up the proceeds of the rally pretty readily. We don't get streets paved to gold out of it. In fact, streets paved is one of the goals for next year, and I hope the council, as we go forward and solve a few of these issues that we've got here, that we're still trying to get our hands around, the final piece of TIFs being one of them, potentially looking at some of our assets that we're holding, whether they fit our long-term plans and whatnot. It might give us an opportunity to, sooner than we thought, make investments on some of these long overdue infrastructure projects. East Main, Moose Drive, Otter Road, and I'm sure there's many, many more. Every ward probably has, So with that, without going line by line, is there any comments on the draft budget? And you guys have had it for a few days to,
If you don't mind, I'll start. I have a couple questions on the rally sponsorship budget, which is in the packet. It's page 41 of 69. I noticed that we don't have anything budgeted for 2026 for the marketing agency monthly retainer or for social media strategies, website updates, official events website. Do we reallocate that to somewhere else, or am I missing it, or what's the plan there? What's that thought process?
we didn't have a great process other than we needed to try and make cuts, and that contract ended, or ends at the end of this year. And discussion was that our director of public relations could handle some of those pieces.
Okay.
Is it 41 of 69?
Yeah, it's 41984220 professional fees. And it's the marketing agency monthly retainer and the social media strategies, which is under publishing for the rally.
Any other questions associated? Do you have anything to add to that, Aaron?
No, that was kind of probably one of the last things that we end up making cuts on to be able to get within the budget. Talking with Deb Holland, our Director of Public Outreach, Public Affairs, we are looking at, Black Hills and Badlands. They provide some opportunities for getting some information. This last year, when we were executing this year's rally, I tell you, the website that really helped us out is the Chamber's website. I mean, they had all the information for all the events and those type of things, and that was pretty helpful for us. We've been working with our current website to get that updated, the intent, because we're still under contract, to be able to have update and have that, get that populated, and we would maintain the accuracy and updates on that website, at least through 2026. And as we go into 2027, see where we sit in terms of revenues and expenditures, and, that would be an area that we would probably want to allocate some funds towards, maybe not the same as what we've been doing in the past, but obviously marketing and getting the story out there to be able to generate interest in the rally and just tourism in general for City of Sturgis is important for us. But yeah, one of those probably last couple day cuts.
Sure, understood. Thank you. And so that's Deb we're looking at putting that on?
That was the idea.
Okay. I am a little concerned because that's a lot of work and that's almost a full-time job doing, but also I don't know all the details of it.
I think not to be negative towards what we've done, but there hasn't been that many posts on that.
Well,
So it shouldn't, if we maintain status quo, we should be able to handle that. If we're looking to push that, it could be more. Based on the discussion.
and I'm sorry, I didn't see this till today. Otherwise, I could have asked a lot of these questions before when we got the budget towards the end of last week and maybe got more clarity. But I do have concerns about that. Don't know my full thoughts on it yet. So if anyone else has anything else they want to comment on with the budget, happy to let somebody else ask.
Okay. We'll circle back to that.
Yeah.
I have to say, I agree with Ruth, at least it could be a big savings. And it's, unfortunately, the status quo, that's the part that concerns me as much as anything else. We're continuing to pay every month without any, and maybe that's looking at the total budget for the year, maybe monthly isn't expected, but it doesn't appear that we're getting a lot of response or a lot of reaction to that or a lot of work on that. But that beyond that, I'll wait for you to come up with more thoughts. I'm still disappointed as a citizen as much as anything with Rally Charities, and I'll continue to talk about that until I'm probably off the council, but I see that we still are budgeting that.
We still have $25,000 in the budget for Sturgis Rally Charities
From this year or for next year?
for next year. This year, there was $25,000. The council approved a claim for that last meeting.
It seems like if we're down in funds, giving money away is not necessarily a way that I would have liked to have seen that done, but
Well, we did certainly make substantial cuts in there, in the allocations that we've given, but, yeah, as we go forward, I mean, there's $25,000. I mean, if you, and there could be other pieces. You know, we've cut to the bone in a lot of places, and we've got members of SEDC in our audience here, and, you know, they saw cuts from, I think, 90,000 to 60,000 for 2026. And, you know, all in the name of, you know, funding our team and making sure that we're compensating our employees properly. Do you have a recommendation in the budget, Jim?
well, I would only say as it relates to, in my case, giving money away. I don't know that the citizens are not well served, I don't think, in that. I think it's, as I've said, I asked this when I was in the audience just as a citizen. Before I got on the board, I asked, what does the rally do for me as a citizen? And the idea that we give money away in a time when we don't have a lot of money seems to be, this would be, if there was ever going to be a time to drop Rally Charities, this would be a good time for that. There's people that depend on it. Bill and I have talked about that at some length. I've talked to several other people that depend on it, but I don't think that the city should be the source for that. I'm a tither and a giver personally, and I think there's other people that do that, and I think that's where that has to happen, as opposed to the city. So I would just offer that as a suggestion for other council members. I'm not ready to lobby that necessarily, but I do think that over time, giving money away through the city is wrong and should not be considered. And I would propose that we not include that at all in the budget.
Well, when we get a little bit further down in the discussion here and get to a spot for a motion, I mean, you'd have the opportunity to
Thank you.
propose a solution. Does anyone else have a comment or question on the draft budget? How about members of the audience? Anybody got a comment or concern through the budget process? I'm surprised. Well, with that, Bonnie, you had a,
Just a little bit. I know how hard you've worked on this, and I'm amazed at what you've done. Jim, I hear what you're saying. When the citizens say, what does the rally do for me? And questioning giving away money when we don't have money. But I do think Rally Charities is one of those things that is the answer to what does the city do for me. I think that there are people who do look at that and see that as something that the rally does for them. And so that being the case, and as conspicuous as it is, and as much concern and talking as there's been about that, I guess I would worry a little about just suddenly erasing that. I think it would be another harm, another sting. But tell me more.
You and I need to have coffee again and talk
Oh,
over
I
these
know,
things.
and you keep saying that and not calling me.
I'm available at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
I might be too.
Okay. Let me say, just my response, and this is personal, but based on what you asked, what does the council do for me? What does the rally do for me? Individuals, rally charities, they personally would be a benefit. I see that. But there's 2,800 households out here that don't feel that way. I'm a supporter of the rally. I stay here, I like it. So I'm certainly not opposed to the rally, but I would say that if you gave us the city, my idea would be that if we had a vote in the city as to should we have the rally or not, if we had anything to do with it, of course, which we don't. But if the citizens had a vote, I think they'd vote 75% to say, no, we don't want a rally. It just slows us down. It makes noise. It's not anything that benefits us. And and I lived out here for a long time. And I still think that's true. That's not against the rally. I'm just saying the citizens of Sturgis don't feel it benefits them. And so giving money away as a result of that is not necessarily the way that we help the citizens. I've proposed, as I said, if we got money to give away, let's talk to Rick and let's put it into in our water bill where we have the surcharges. Let's pay those surcharges down, and on every water bill we'd put a note that says, Bonnie, your water bill has been deducted, whatever that amounts to. If there's 2,800 people, save $25,000, divide that by 2,800 and see how much money that saves you this year. I
Less
don't
than
know.
10 a month.
I'm sorry?
Less than 10 a month.
Of course, but it's on your water bill.
Right.
Every month. Somebody would say, you're saving this money because of the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. That's my view as a citizen. It's the way I believe that that's how we need to do to put it back into the community. I've talked to several other people who disagree with me on where the money comes, but it's other people's money. It's easy to give away other people's money. So why are we doing that? And we started it. In fact, I'd like to go back and, well, I don't need to go on with you, and I can have coffee and I'll tell you about it.
Well, and I hear what you're saying. When you put it someplace like that where everybody can see the line item of $8.23 came off my bill because of this $25,000 that stayed in the pot. But I think we're overlooking too the benefit as that $25,000 goes to those organizations or whomever, that filters its way out into the community as well. And I think that there are people who do see that and would feel harmed by not having that benefit. But I think it calls for certainly more examination of just exactly where does that go when it goes into rally charities. I'm just remembering over these past months and couple of years the tension over rally charities and the fact that we thought maybe no money for that this time around.
Yeah.
I just think we need to hold it in the light and turn it a lot of different ways before we make a decision about doing away with that.
Well, I just want to point out quickly that, Aaron mentioned that, the forthcoming report is showing after expenses that we made $1.3 million, or 13% essentially of our budget. So we do see a benefit for the rally, and it is big. And there's a lot of items that we can't even necessarily measure per se on the tax collection or the rest of it. Along that line, Bonnie, did you get your questions out?
Yeah, I did. I guess it's just really hard to see a straight line of which money goes where and what actually helps me. How can I say what the rally does for us as a city, except that I've sat through a lot of these meetings and have seen. I mean, it goes into the pool. It goes into the pool and it takes care of all those things that the city does for me. The cleanup, the fireworks, the whatever. But it does get washed out in the pool, so it's hard to trail it. But I don't disagree with you necessarily, Jim. I just think it takes more perspective and more discussion before you just, and it's gone. Thank you.
Glad that you mentioned fireworks, because those are that's one item that actually had to go up because of tariffs, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Are we at a point then that we have some solutions? There's a couple of questions out there.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to city staff for cutting the bone as well as they did and getting us to a balanced budget. There was a lot of weekends and a lot of weekdays spent on this, and I appreciate you guys' time for getting this where it is today, so I appreciate it again.
Thank you, Tony. It was hard work.
Mhm.
And, I think our departments need to be commended for actually realizing that they're part of a team and they're not fighting only for their own department, and they're understanding that, maybe they have to give a little so that someone else can stay afloat, if you will. Ruth, did you come up with a solution?
Unfortunately, no, not in the 6 minutes that we were talking.
6 minutes.
I don't know how long it is. Just lose track of space and time when we're in here. And I don't like bringing something up without having the solution, just saying, hey, this is a problem, and I have no solution to offer. I have more questions than I have a solution, because I'm not quite sure of how we got to what the discussion was and how we got from the budget. For me, that's a necessity. I mean, that's what I do. So I have an understanding of the complexity of it and the skill set, and this commentary is nothing against Deb and her skill set. It's just what I know and what I have seen over the past years with what we have been doing, and know that it's needed. Unfortunately, I don't have a solution. I can obviously help as much as I can, but I can't completely eliminate having budget for marketing from our budget for 2026. I don't see that as an option, which I know does not answer your question, because I don't have the solution, so I don't know where we can pull that money from without more questions, and we're digging into this, and I apologize that I haven't done that today.
Well, that's what we're here for tonight.
Yeah, I know.
The fact of it is, in order to have a structurally balanced budget, if we're going to add money there,
Right, I understand that.
somewhere else.
I understand that, and I understand that we have, from what it sounds like, have been less than, we haven't gotten the results that we wanted with the services that we have contracted for, but that doesn't mean we completely eliminate it. We gotta look at other solutions and other people who can provide that. I don't know if that's happened.
Well, it really came down to, we're trying to balance the budget at the very end. Where can we land that maybe doesn't hurt the worst? Meaning, we do see through some of these other groups, they're spending money on marketing. The bid group has done quite a bit of marketing. So there are others.
Sure.
They're funded through, whether it's the footage assessment or the hotel pieces. They're doing their, I don't want to overuse carry the water tonight, but they're doing that for us. In fact, some of those groups are also plugging the holes that we've left by having to cut pieces with some of our partners as well. And so, they're doing their part in the community. But we would need to know how we can fund the thing.
Right. I'm probably not gonna have an answer for you tonight without a lot more questions and looking at the entire budget
So with
in
that,
much more detail.
go ahead.
Well, one solution could be, first is, we spent, $42,000 last year, and maybe sitting down with you, Ruth, and we can determine, what are essential things that would help. We do have some, you looked at the sponsorship professional fees, and that's pretty lean. I would tell you, Lance, he came back with a very lean budget on sponsorship. But we did build a little bit into the professional fees in the rally piece of it. There's $35,000 there. Last year we had $50,000 in that account, and we didn't come close to spending that. Now, part of that too, we were looking at $20,000 for SRM, for the Sturgis Motorcycle Museum. So that would be an option. Is that?
You talking about the rally events contract?
I'm talking about the
under-
rallying events in that budget under professional fees, just one up from
Right.
sponsorship. So it's the same object, it's the same activity, it's just in a different budget, the rally budget versus sponsorship budget. And since we are specifically talking about the rally, that would potentially, if that's a higher priority than maybe the museum magazine. But even with that, last year, I think we did a pretty good job of trying to pull the rally off without spending a lot of extra money. So there may be some money in that particular account that we could use. Now, it's not going to cover $42,000 because there's only 35 in there.
Well,
But
I
if
don't
we-
know if that's the right amount, because I don't
That's
know
the point.
exactly
If we
what
can determine-
services we're,
Right, if we can
trying
determine what
to.
that right amount is to achieve, something that's positive, that's going to be able to market that, then I think there might be some opportunities. We always have the contingency fund. We did put additional money into the contingency fund here late, but again, part of that too is we get into February timeframe, kind of get a sense on how things are going, what our IT's looking like, and that kind of stuff. So there might be some opportunities. And then if the council, as we get into 2026, feels that this is a higher priority, we can always, do supplemental appropriations, from some place to that if we're not using contingency funds. So it doesn't necessarily, doesn't allow us not to do it. It's just that you have to get maybe creative on how we do it, and then also maybe move money around through the structural means that we have that's available to us.
So Eric, a question for you quickly. In this question about this marketing, if we were to make an adjustment, if the council was to make an adjustment at the second reading, with a motion that moved something from another location to that, is that a substantial change and that would trigger a first reading?
It would ultimately depend on what it is, but based on the discussions we're having tonight, like if there was some minor, moderate changes to the budget in that area or other small areas between first and second reading, no. And that would be my recommendation, is that if there are only small items that might need to be adjusted between this meeting and the next meeting, that we go ahead and do first reading and modify those and talk about them at second reading.
Very good, thank you.
I would be okay with that and figure out a solution before we get to the second reading of where we can, because that works for me.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns? Is there someone willing to motion the first reading?
I'll move to approve the budget as the first reading, the way it sits.
I'll second it.
And a first by Mark and a second by Tony. Is there any additional discussion? Since this is our annual appropriation, I'm going to roll call vote this. So, Nick, I'm going to start with you.
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Ruth?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Thank you. The first reading of the 2026 budget has passed unanimously. Well, that brings us to executive session. I believe we do have an executive session, a need for executive session tonight. Can you, just a short one?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I am requesting just a brief executive session to brief the council on a couple of issues, and would ask for a motion to go into executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2 sub 3 to discuss proposed or pending litigation with legal counsel.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Got a first by Jim, a second by Mark to go in executive session for legal reasons. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. We'll be back right directly. No action anticipated.
No.
what you gotta do. Okay, we are back from executive session. I'd look for a motion to return to open session.
Motion to return.
Second.
Got a first by Alex, a second by Mark to return to open session. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. That takes us to the end of our agenda, and so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn?
Second.
A first by Tony, a second by Alex to adjourn. Those in favor indicate by stating yes.
Yes.
Thank you. That's the end of the meeting tonight.
I don't think this